Very interesting question. I should say that my attraction from early age was actually mathematics, as I said, pure mathematics. That's my first degree. But very early on in conversation, particularly with my mother, that enjoyed to watch programs on TV, and some of these programs, as you might imagine, was popularization of science. And she'll always bring this up with the kids, right, with us. And that, of course, creates some curiosity, motivation to learn a bit more, understand what's happening. And later on, actually, I got my first degree in mathematics in the University of Porto, in Portugal. And I had one of the professors with whom I had actually, group of us would have some conversations after the lectures. And we discussed astronomy and application mathematics to astronomy. As we just discussed that Nicholas Copernicus did it in a revolutionary way. And that kind of created my interest. And at the same time, by the end of the degree, a new course was being created on exactly in astronomy. And it was basically applied mathematics majoring in astronomy. So at that point I decided, am I going to pursue a PhD in mathematics or am I going to do something else? And I did something else. So what I actually did is I took a second degree in physics because I thought I would need to learn physics as well in order to fully accomplish my mission as an astronomer. And that's what I did. And once that was completed, by the way, I worked at the time with Dr. Teresa Lago, which is the person in Portugal, a woman, that created the Center of Astrophysics at the University of Porto. And that's where I actually joined this more activity, mostly in astronomy. And supported by her, a few of us went on for a master's degree in England. And later on, I started my PhD in the University of Cambridge in England, exactly in astronomy, but now in cosmology. And why did I choose this specific specialization? At the time of arrival, when I met Professor Anthony Lazenby, became my PhD supervisor, he gave me two choices. One was to study the cosmic microwave background radiation isotropies. It was gaining highly momentum. It was very, recently or ongoing discovery of these variations of temperature with position sky. So it was kind of new and very, very, very interesting. Or a field in mathematics that would eventually be of relevance to cosmology. I think it took me just a few seconds to decide. And then I decided, okay, I would like to do the work on the CMB, because cosmic microwave background radiation, and that's where all my adventure started. Well, as a woman in science, I have to say it's been a very good experience. And since my PhD and later on, as a postdoc in Cambridge and later on, engaging in other universities and finally ending up at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and Caltech to work in a very important mission related to CMB Planck mission, I managed to have quite good relationships with my colleagues and partners, which were mostly male-dominated. The thing that I learned very quickly is that you do need, as a woman, to be assertive, and you do need to do your homework, your own work, and don't wait for others to do things, right? So you go ahead, you do your own work. Of course, I was very dedicated, absolutely dedicated, and I wanted to create a good reputation and reliability. What I wanted to do is, whenever there was a meeting, I said something. I wanted people from the start to believe that I was saying the right thing. So I would not offer, opinions or offer ideas without actually thinking cautiously about them before doing so. And I think that is something, I guess that's the same for women and men, but for women it's really important. You want to be very clearly showing that you thought about this very thoroughly and these are your conclusions. And why is that important? Because in the long run, reliability comes about. So when, in the beginning they might thought, oh, she's talking about this. I don't know if she understands. Is she really clear understanding what she's talking about? After a bit of time, you realize that people just respect what you say, and because you're reliable, if she's mentioned that, she knows what she's talking about. And I think that is very, very important, is reputation, reliability in science as a scientist. So you have to be, as I said, very dedicated, understand things very thoroughly, more than anyone else. It doesn't matter if you have to work, you have to do it. And with time, things just flourish and happen to you. The other thing I learned as a woman is leadership. So as member of the Planck mission, the satellite, as you know, that gave us these very important results, in particular determined, for example, the cosmological parameters with unprecedented accuracy, just using the temperature fluctuation with radiation, was a really important result. I had to lead some groups in some core working groups. And it is very important, in my case, was very important, my experience is that when you ask the young students or when you ask the postdocs to do some work, sometimes they have their doubts. Is this the work I want to do? Is it what's needed for the mission? And one thing I've learned very quickly is that when you ask that of them, you yourself go and do it as well. So when next meeting comes about, they haven't done it, for example, then you start and say, okay, here are the results, and you show. It's very interesting to see, for me, the reaction, and particularly the younger generation, because at that point they say, this is not going to happen again. Next time that she asks me to do something, I will do it. And I think it's what they call leadership by example. And as a woman, I think that's very, very important. People really learn to respect you very quickly. You know, I don't know what else to say. Of course, I think that there are some difficulties. I actually work with women as well, and work with them very, very successful. And it is true though that as a woman, you have to. Now it's different. Now it's changing, right? But you need to be to motivate yourself because you are surrounded by this male environment, and you know, big egos are present in the room. And I was not a big ego. I never had that sort of tendency, let's say. But at some point, you do have to develop a bit of it, you know. So I think that's a bit also going maybe sometimes against your natural tendencies, because you do know that, you know, you have, if you believe in what you are doing, it's very important. If you believe that what you are doing is correct, if you believe that your technique or algorithm that you developed is correct or will give the best results, then you really have to do your work at presenting it as such. And that's where I come with the idea of that being assertive. Sometimes it can be hard, but you know, it's something that you cannot give up, you cannot give it up. You have to be persistent and do it. Absolutely. So the great satisfaction in my career has been the opportunity to work with the great minds of our times. Work, discuss, think alongside with them. I never thought in my life that that would happen when, you know, I was young and a child. But when you see yourself, and initially you are humble, right? But just the fact that you can think alongside with these great minds and you can learn so much, and at some point, you know, in these discussions and conversations, they turn to you and say, "Wow, that's quite a good idea." You know, it just realize suddenly that this is an opportunity like no other. So that's one thing that for me has been always very important. And the other thing, of course, I cannot not say that one of the things that gave me great satisfaction was working for the Planck mission within the Planck team. I worked really very hard, but I think we all worked very hard. And for me it was a great satisfaction, the results we obtained, and the fact that I contributed to that. I worked, you know, I drafted my own algorithms, I analyzed the data, and just getting sometimes these results in front of me in the laptop, sometimes very late in the evening, as you can imagine, was something that at the time you feel, oh my God, you know, so much work, and we have to go through this, and we have to, you know, analyze, interpret the data, understand the data, if there are artifacts, if there are no artifacts, what we need to do, and have some understanding and intuition for the problem. It seems to be like quite a hard job, right? You're going through the process. But as soon as you get the results and things become clear to you, and in particular when these results are astonishing, right? They have implications like you couldn't imagine for science and the community at large. Then I felt that I felt I accomplished something in my career.